Miley Cyrus party in the USA. It is B100, today's hit music.
And special guest joining us in the studio, Jeremy Reed with the Reality of Realty. Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Morning. It's been
nice
a while
and
since
clear.
I think I've seen you.
It has been a while. I know.
Yeah,
I had to
Rich
catch
has been
up
gone
quickly.
all summer.
Hold on a second.
Just
Wait
kidding.
a minute. We want to talk pricing strategies today, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I was excited to come back in and go back into strategy. This is kind of my element. The reason I wanted to start with pricing is because it's by far the biggest or most powerful tool we have. I mean, the marketing, the preparation staging is important. One of the ways that I actually learned this was when I was early on in my career. I had a mentor that was explaining to me the power of pricing. And I was sitting down for coffee with him and I was explaining how I had this home. I'd staged it well. We got it prepared. It was priced well and it wasn't selling. And he's like, well, then it's got to be priced. And I'm like, no, we priced it right. He's like, well, if you were to drop it in half, would it sell? Well, I was like, yeah, of course. He's like, okay, if you dropped it 100,000, would it sell? Would you drop it at 50,000? And we were able to figure out that at a certain point, pricing does become your biggest factor. Mm-hmm. And really, when you're pricing a home, the basis, the simple version is you're trying to find a lump sum of sales that have happened recently, and then you're trying to define the active listings that you're competing with. And those two give you two different benchmarks. Yeah. And basically from there, you can decide which pricing strategy you're going to go with.
Okay.
And there's three major ones that I thought I would talk about today.
Okay.
First one is called the needle in a haystack. Now, the needle in the haystack, there's two reasons you would use this. Number one, you've got something that's so unique about your home that you know some buyer out there is going to see the value and be willing to pay a little bit more.
It's like you got a special waterfall in the back or something
there's
very unique.
There's something unique that they can't get anywhere else.
Okay.
Or it's very hard to find anywhere else.
Okay.
And you're saying, okay, I know there's that needle in the haystack. I'm willing to go through 10 or 20 buyers to find that one that sees the value.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you really got to be very specific on the type of buyer you're going after.
Okay.
The second time you would use this is if there's just no comparables. I have
Right.
no idea what it's worth. And then you'd pair it with what's called a step down. So example of that might be I might list a home at $850,000 because I really don't know. I'm starting a bit high. And I'm going to allow 8 to 12 buyers to come through. And my only goal is to see, can I get an offer between $820 and $850?
Yeah.
If after that I can't, now I go to $819.9 to see is it $8 to $820, and I continue on stepping down. It's a way to get feedback. You're almost like fishing with different lines.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So that's the needle in the haystack. The most the most used one would be the seam line.
Okay.
And that's where I would say in a balanced market or an increasing market, a rising market, you're going to usually see that the comparable listings are a little bit higher than comparable sales.
Okay.
So a seam line would be if I price right in between of those two. Mm-hmm. And what that's going to do is it's going to basically position you as the best deal on the market. Okay. Buyers are going to see your competitors. They're going to see you a bit better. And you're just trying to outperform the last sales.
That makes sense.
Okay.
And then the last one is what I would call the launch pad.
Okay.
And,
I like the name of this one. Launchpad.
I was going to call it the Mountaineer or the Sherpa. Like there was a couple different ideas I had.
Launchpad's better.
Launchpad's a bit better.
Let's call this one the Sherpa.
So two reasons why you might want to use this. Number one is you've got a home that sells a lot. Like you would say it would sell 5 or 6 times in a month and it hasn't come up for a while and you know there's probably a good 5 to 10 buyers that are interested. You might price below the most recent sales just to get as many buyers as interested as possible and have that bidding war, which can still happen right now.
Okay.
But the other reason I'm seeing this, and this again goes back to my earlier conversation about my mentor explaining it to me, he was explaining that the market doesn't rise and fall based on the market as much as it does in subsections of the market. So let's say
It's so complicated.
But let's say that you've got a neighborhood in Aberdeen and there's 6 homes that are all priced very similar and they're similar homes. Mm-hmm. Well, none of them are selling. One person gets motivated, drops their price down, sells. Now everybody drops their price down and it resaturates. And then they basically refight over buyers again. Another buyer gets motivated, drops. And the market drops based on the motivations. Okay. So you might want to use a launchpad where you're looking at it, saying, okay, I don't like where this is at. I don't want to be the last one to get out. So then you're the first one. You eject out of the market, get the buyer, get out before the rest of the market starts coming down.
Okay.
So
very nice.
So these are huge strategies, but you really need somebody to talk you through this because this is a lot.
Well, even when I sold my house, I called a friend of mine who's a realtor. I was like, tell me how to price this. Because it's hard when you're in it. To
when
really
it's your
see
own,
things.
you're
It's
too
totally
attached
different,
to it.
That's exactly right.
You're emotionally attached. I think that's the other reason you need a realtor as well, because you need to take some of the emotion out of it.
Yeah, it helps.
Right? You got to pull yourself out. So
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Okay, so people have questions, and I'm sure they will. How can they get a hold of you?
They can go to my website, jeremyreedrealestate.ca, or just call me directly on my cell, 320-1554.
Sweet.
Perfect.
Jeremy, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.